The night starts like all other nights. The night starts like all other nights, with the sun falling to the horizon. The stars fast begin to burn bright. On this night we follow our character that seems to be an individual, a familiarity and similarities. You already are intrigued, following the lead character in this story, a character that could be you or could be me, a character symbolic personality of highs and lows of life's expectations. Now we listen to the stories and walk aside familiar friends taking a journey in the shoes of a character named Sam. We begin on the night where anything could happen. Our character Sam gets ready with the desire, the excitement, the anxiety that fills the body from tip to toe, the suspense of the night, the unknown. The backsetting of jazz music sets the tone, the music filling the small bedroom as it echoes off the paint-peeling walls, some of the sound absorbed by colorful materials that drape from ceiling to floor, the material reaching almost each surrounding wall. We are reminded of a circus tent, in the center our character Sam, looking into a mirror, looking as I am on our best night out, dressed spick and span, casual, smart and feeling attractive. However, this is a night that could not be spent alone, so Sam sent a text to that one and only best friend with similar interest and the same intentions to combine forces, amplifying their confidence and conversations. They talk and text with pre-drinks as they make their plans. With pre-drinks already gone, they agree to meet on Franklin Street and let the city night lights lead the way to a place unknown, a people not met, leading to discussions past midnight break and the daylight cusp. Meeting with the influence of the alcoholic beverages, intoxicating the personality, as it's designed, causing the inspired events of unpredictability. A soft breeze is a gentle reminder tonight is going to be a good night. Our character Sam has fantastic intuition, an instinct to alert of oncoming danger, an inner voice that speaks within a feeling of something deep inside, connected to the surrounding environment, with subconscious warnings, or that voice screaming out loud from inside mind, sometimes confused or seen as paranoia. As all humans can be, our emotions can get the better of us and our inner voice ignored. However, it is this instinct that is a pre-evaluation of the situation to determine an outcome before it's happened, or a moment that in a parallel 2. universe it would have had lead to most certain death. This can be a powerful tool to prevent such disasters, but only if we just listen, trust that gut feeling and believe it is a true sense trustworthy of your attention. Sam shares an experience whilst waiting in line of when that inner voice screamed loud inside the incident preventing imitate death. Sam introducing a past experience demonstrating this gut feeling. Explaining over the phone, Sam introduces instinct into the conversation, remembering a time when one day like every other day, driving my little red hatchback up the road up to the shops, everything's just as normal. Almost mundane. I'm in a bit of a daydream as I'm pulling up to red stoplights on the top of the hill. As normal, the handbrake goes up and my foot hovers over the accelerator and the brake, waiting for the traffic light to change. As always, the light turns green. Without hesitation the handbrake comes down, foot over the pedal, revving the engine. I go to take off, but before there's a chance to go forward, a voice screams in Sam's head. Voice in the mind screamed loudly, "Stop!" So I do. Just for a second I pause, still looking up at the green light. Out loud I ask the voice in my head, "Why?" Just then a red Skyline car comes screaming past from left to right in a flash, straight through their red light. I'm still looking at what is still a green light for me to go. If I had gone and didn't hesitate, the Skyline would have made a direct hit onto the driver's side at 90 kilometers or more. Totally realizing my life was just saved, shocked, it me took another second before I celebrated and thanked that inner voice. All whist I carried on through the same green light. Sam finishing the story. Neil explains a similar time but walking through the city because I don't drive, so before crossing the road to what is the green blinking, giving permission to cross, a loud voice said pause, the same word my mum used when playing musical statues. In a quick flash I automatically stop with exactly the same feeling, a rush of butterflies in my belly, so literally my foot halfway out, my leg full extended, paused. The little go man sign still flashing green, from over the hill a Subaru comes speeding up over the small hill, accelerating and unable to stop the driver. Seeing the red light takes a sharp left turn, screeching around the same corner I'm standing on, my leg still extended. The car brushes past within inches. Regaining control, the driver speeds off and I'm left to just look left to right again and make my way forward, thinking the same thing. What if? Did that voice just save my life? Was that voice me? If not, who or what then? How could it see it coming? Left. With only questions, I just kept on walking. Neil finished her story and the both of them concluded their conversation agreeing on the time and place. A night out and the desire of the sexual jungle. 3. Telling a story where desire is in all of humanity and drives us to decide on making an impact or being forgotten in the sands of time. Now recorded to share with people like you in mind. Outside of a shady bar in the darkness of the night, Sam and long-term friend Neil with the nickname Neil are looking to be seated in their first destination, a bar called Scruffy Murphy's. Sam is reminded of a time where a previous date had led to the same place, the date ending in absolute chaos. The gorilla-looking security guard asked politely for identification. Neil pulls out her identification first and Sam follows behind. The bouncer reads Neil's identification, stating to Neil, "That's a nice name." Neil thanks for the bouncer before moving on. Sam follows shortly behind without hesitation, the bouncer neglecting to ask Sam for identification on the way in. The bouncer just states welcome, enjoy the night, winking one eye and lifting the rope, allowing access for Neil and Sam. They find a seat in the outdoor area. A slight city breeze blows ever so slightly. As the breeze lightly caresses each one of their faces, it feels like a blessing. The has night begun. The drinks started rounds, the audience intensified and so did conversing conversations getting louder and louder. As the music and the people progressed to enter into the place, space was hard to find. Sam and Neil are confined to the corner. Sam begins a story, like always with a laugh and like reading from a favorite book, the story convicted with compassion, a voice you want to listen to. Clinking drinks to the story begins that is to be told. Homemade pizza and a ghost on the second date that still freaks me out. Sam states with chills. A bloody true story. Sam says excitedly, what really? A ghost story? Neil questions. Yeah, Sam replies, continuing to tell the story. So I had met this girl at the club one night. It was the first time meeting her and she wasn't too bad. She made me laugh and we had a few drinks. 4. Flirting through text and gaining an invite for a second date. With glee, I said hells yeah. On the second date, she had asked me to come around for homemade pizzas and a house that she was house sitting. The house was in a place called Springfield Avenue. Even on my approach, I had a funny feeling in my gut that just something wasn't quite right. Anyway, not wanting to let the anxiety disappoint the night, I leave the car, mustering up courage, making my way to the door. I'd decided that I was going to go ahead and knock, knock, knock. She welcomed me in as you would any other guest, giving her a bottle of wine and a bunch of flowers that she quickly rested on the table beside the door. She gave me a big hug, squeezing tight, and of course, I squeezed back, kissing her cheek as we break free. My eyes open, I gazed over her left shoulder and saw a man standing there. I swear, for a moment, I could see somebody standing there. I was shocked for a second, thinking, shit, someone else is here. I saw a man in a pair of blue jeans, black t-shirt, a bald head. He was just standing there as I focused my eyes and went to ask, who is that? Blinking twice, I look again, there is no one there. At first I thought it was the owner or maybe she's got a guest, then realizing as she welcomed me in, showing me around the house she is sitting, it was only us, just me and her. I began to wonder, but dismiss what I had seen. It was one of those moments where you think rapidly and dismiss that thing you thought you had just seen, fading into the imagination. You continue putting it to the back of the mind. Thinking back to what I had seen, I couldn't make out the eyes, and really, to be honest, well, it kinder gave me the jitters and my hair stood up in the end with goosebumps. Only being a second date, I wasn't just about to turn around and run out the door, but this wasn't really the first time I encountered something like this. However, it still had me pretty spooked. I thought maybe I was just seeing things, diminutive with lust. So I continued inside. We obviously went on with the date, with her being oblivious to my inner voice dramatically driving me towards the door, so she and I continued on having a laugh and a giggle over a bottle of wine. Meanwhile, I look over to the open curtains, catching my eye as they move. I see the window, and in the reflection of the glass, I could see the man, the same man, standing there again, watching, looking over us. I spontaneously whip my head around to the lounge room floor where the man should be standing, no one there. But still in the reflection was the bold man, black shirt, blue jeans. I see him as clear as day in the reflection of the window, looking right at us. 5. This time, I was really spooked out and expected the fact I was really seeing this and hiding the obvious fact I was shitting myself in fear. So at this point already having cooked and eaten the pizza. Calming my heart rate through wine and playing ignorance to the spirit. I thought the night had led on pretty well, so I thought. Why the hell not, so I think. I'll stay around a little bit longer, what else could happen, tossing up between the mood get stranger or better between us. In the back of my mind I still had that overwhelming feeling that I should bail, a consistent emotion drawn towards the exit and impulse to immediately death rolling out the door. However, the night progressed. After the pizza and a few glasses of wine we started to get to know each other just a little bit more. In the lounge room we lie on a picnic rug and cushions having a laugh about the language, how it sounds. We made fun as we spoke as mature as the dictionary had intended, so sophisticated with sarcasm, we defiantly had a spark. As the night progresses, dramatically in nature, Neil exhumes. As we drew closer together, pheromones released, highlighting the expressive sexual intentions. The room felt small as it began to fill up with our sexual desires, as our energies began to lust for one another, reaching out and joining skins, fingertip to fingertip, arm lightly caressing her arm, drawing closer, chest to chest, hip over hip as she sat on my lap. Dry friction begins, the moist lips touch in a moment of kinetic energy, my spine tingles as she ran her nails down the back of my neck, my lips drawn towards her neck landing where they may. The passion pauses. Then noticing, as I open my eyes, I see, as I'm looking through her hair, looking up sidewards, I see a man, the same man, standing there, staring with no visible eyes. I try to make focus, blinking my eyes, still his there, his eyes like black pits into the abyss. I couldn't focus, like fuzz in your eyes. I tried to flush it out, blink, blink. I was unable to focus, no pupils, no eyes, only a black fuzzy haze substance where there the eyes should be. Wanting the company of a female, I continued to make out with her, but I'm holding back with the expectation that this dude is watching. 6. A ghost, black shirt, blue jeans, bold skin-covered head, eyes of evil. I grew uncomfortable. It's in that moment she decided she needed to go to the bathroom. She was in there for about 45 seconds. I think in that time, I whipped my head around looking the room 1,000 times. As I looked around with my heart pounding, I got that overwhelming feeling that I wasn't alone, pushing closer like a wind brushed through the window. Whoosh. Past my ear, I hear, "You're not welcome." A man's voice shudders through my entire body and to my heart, the wind gushing past towards to the door. Before I could think or react, she returned jumping on my lap, pressing her body hard against mine. As she pulls me forward into her bust, I thought, oh maybe I should keep on going, but I really want to stop, maybe. Thinking, should I leave? With wild thoughts racing, my lips met and match hers with passion and the lust of sexual intercourse. All negative thoughts faded. It's then in that moment, she pauses again, jumps up, stating her need to take 5 and use the toilet. Again, I thought to myself, alright, that was a little bit strange. She came out another couple of seconds later. It was a bit off-putting, to be honest. At this point I'm no longer turned on due to the strange happenings that are happening here right now. It was in these few moments I decided I should bail. Before I do, she rushes out, jumps on me again, pining me down, and with force starts making out with me again, but I'm not into it. Pulling me in close and squeezing tightly with her fingers intertwined with my t-shirt, I think to myself, FUCK, this shit is getting real. Alright, this is getting a little bit too much. I tell myself as I took the first step to pulling away, but, as I did, her grip intensified, clenching into my skin. Then suddenly, once again she stopped, paused and said, I need to go to the bathroom, and off she went again, down the hall to the bathroom once again. As quick as she went into the bathroom she returned back, ##, but this time she was different. She was not herself at all. I can feel it in my guts. Something was wrong. Her hands moved in a jilting manner, rapidly convulsing in each movement forward. Different than before. Not her, it's not her. I rumbled to myself. As my eyes drew around her body and then resume, soaking in the fragmented mannerisms. Knowing she is different, the way that she walked, the way that she moved her fingers, the 7. way that she moved her holder's shoulders, it was all just different, thin, hunched. Something is terribly wrong. My heart rate goes up and goosebumps peak like pins under skin. The inner voice screams, run. I'm really freaking out. As my eyes try to take focus, my mind questions. What am I trying to look at? What is wrong? What's different? My eyes are drawn to her eyes, or what I should be seeing eyes. I try and focus on her eyes or where they should be. I'm trying to say there are no eyes, but where her eyes would be, well, all I could only see were black holes, deep spots of fuzzy black, big black, fuzzy black holes. I couldn't focus my eye on hers. I'm telling you guys, it took me less than a split second to get my shit together, my jeans squeezed up and zipped, and then leaving in puff of smoke, only dust behind me. It was a flash of getting my shit and getting the fuck out of there, out of that house. I'm telling you, off I ran, out the door and onto the yard, brushing the evil Mr. Magoo's sprit of my shoulders as my legs raised high, running out of there like I was a acrophobic being showered in spiders. Sam exclaimed, took a deep breath, then continued. I couldn't believe it, somebody needed a fucking exorcism, it was crazy. A few days later I did get a text off of her, thank you for such a great night and what a great laugh that we had, and she told me to enjoy my life and hope you're getting to me in the future. I guess it was sweet and all, but there's no way I could go back there after that. Sam finishing the story, raising a glass. Clink. Well, as far as ghost stories are told, that was good. Neil saying excitedly, Sam. Drinks up. Neil is a small person in stature, but is incredibly gorgeous, like a cute little mouse, her pearly white face highlighted by rosy red lips, her face always brushed with her naturally blonde locks of flowing hair. Her language draws attention, the way she speaks displays a confidence, with smart witty comments that whips, sharp to the tongue. She is attractive and can be defensive, getting the wrong attention, starting with the politeness of a gaze. 8. Neil states, I have a story from a while back, and she hasn't really accepted that it was the worst date ever. I ended up meeting an old high school sweetheart that turned out to be a prostitute. She states as a warning. Lucky Neil. Sam said with laughter. Neil explains, so at this point in my I'm young, out, having fun, I've already had a few pre-drinks and already feel the effects of alcohol. So. Neil taking a sip of her drink, followed by taking a deep breath. With Dutch courage, feeling sexy and more free to be myself, you know, one of those nights? Having a dance and time of my life, dancing away in a seedy club on a seedy dance floor surrounded by seedy people doing shady things. So I'm dancing away on the slightly sticky flood, like there's been 100 people spilling drinks the night before. The fog of the smog machine filled of the room. Smoggy laser beams light the disco dance floor. The lights draw my focus to see a silhouette shadow that emerges from the smog and laser lights. There she was. Dancing free. Her and no one but me. Silence falls. Looking in the reflection of the shady mirrors on the wall, I could watch her without having to stare. I remember her cute fluffy shoe cuffs. Hypnotized by elaborated popping strides of her shuffling feet, the high visual pink PC tight pants, matching synthetic boob tube top, I remember thinking she looked like she was dressed for night in the Mardi Gras. She looked free. The lights reflected off the mirrors and the lasers bounced off the floor. Reflection draws to her body to me through the darkness and the smog. She drew closer, dancing, shuffling, dancing, pumping her fist, shuffling to the beat, skipping on one foot, popping. She bounces closer, big hair and platforms closer. The wild carefree hair highlighted through the lights, as a cute carefree face comes into focus. Within seconds I hear. To Neil. Realizing it is an old high school friend, recognized through the misty smoke, her bright pink fringe and black hair steps out through the silhouette. Samara. I said out loud as our eyes met hers. I remember lights reflecting a moment of connection, realizing we know each other and we know where from. The room bears silence. 9. For a fraction of a second. As I remember it, the room moved in slow motion, as the lights and smoke dissipated, as all else faded away there was only us, the music and seedy dance floor. Putting her head forward and close to my ear, she asked, "You're to Neil from Grendel High, right?" "Neil, is that really you?" "Yeah, that's me," I replied, "and confirming your Samara prospects." "Yeah." She grinned, nodding her head, grabbed my hand and led me out to the dance floor. After a while of dancing on the dance floor we head to the bar for some tequila shots. After that we danced some more. We dance high, we dance low, we had a really good flow, no worries in the world except for the seedy club with a seedy floor, but nothing more. As she dips and rises slowly, caressing past hips to my lips. We dance, her curves squeezed into mine, her breath raises the goosebumps on my neck, with her fingers slowly trickling down my shoulder. As we We draw closer, the ecstasy was undeniable, our heartbeats intertwined, the enchanted feeling of the sexual electricity, my hair stood on end, the beat of the music vibrating, music thudding, beating, bass felt through our bodies, our energies finally connected through the absorbing music smashing together in pure passion. But the night doesn't end there, as all others had. We began to make our way out the door and to the night beyond, neither of us wanting the night to end. Samara stayed in highlight, we're only getting started, asking me, are you ready for a good night? I think to myself, it's got to be better than this seedy club. Right, Sam Neil breaking out of story to check in with the one-ended question. Sam was focused with full attention on the next development in the story. Samara heads to the bar with confidence, unfazed by finance. She buys a tequila rounds. For her and I was thinking, holy shit, I don't want to embarrass myself, it might be too much to handle, but here we go, shots before we leave and hit the pavement. 4 shots, 2 each in total. So I'm already loose, feeling a bit like a goose, legs getting jelly, but thankfully the tequila shots gave me a boost. 10. After the tequila, salt and lime went down our throats, we gathered our legs and our heads, agreed to leave the smoky club with the seedy floor, went out the doors. Leading me by arm and hand, Samara leads to me down, around and over a bridge to a place called Fluffy Murphy's. Then, just before we go in, she turns to me and said, wait here, I just need to go changed. Changed? I questioned, looking around as to where. She replied, yes, really. So I waited and waited. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. An hour passed, and after waiting a while, my mind started to grow confused and worried, thinking she's just fully bailed on me, forgot I'm here, or a stewing thought that I was misled. However, I prosier, continuing to wait, I was starting to get just a bit little self-conscious. And so, please forgive me, after 2 hours, I was thinking, fuck it, yep, I've been left alone, I'm just going to go home then. Dead set, no joke, the place got packed out within 10 minutes, at least an extra 150 to 200 people just packed into the bar, so I thought, holy shit, I'll finish my drink, then I'll go, because this is ridiculous. The place is buzzing, it got so loud and noisy, with so many people in there, I couldn't hear the music play. Just there and then I had a realization, I had lost the opportunity to finally indulge in the potentially passionate romance, losing a chance in celebrating my desires, indulging beyond the novels, beyond the magazines, and beyond the giggling stories of expressive sexualities told by others. I decided to leave. At this point I didn't really see any point in staying anyway, starting to feel sorry for myself, so I finished my drink, and just as I'm about to set my glass down, my phone rings. Buzzing in my pocket. I fumbled to answer the private unknown call. I answered. But I couldn't hear who was on the line because how busy it had become. So I go to the door and I'm stepping outside, my ear pressed against the phone, my left hand cupping other ear as I to try on hear who it was on the line, using my elbows to separate the 11 crowd in the doorway waiting to come in. So I'm holding the phone in one hand and blocking my ear with the other, and I hear, Neil, hey to Neil. Over here. So I hang up the phone, I look up to the crowd of people trying to get in. I hear someone calling my name. Neil. But I don't see anyone I recognize. I thought, or they must be calling out to somebody else. The phone rings again. I answer to hear, it's me, Samara, I'm over here, look up. I hang up the phone again and look up, there's a girl in front of me and she's waving me over. I don't say I don't recognize who she is out loud, but whoever she is looking right at me, calling me over, saying my name. Hello, it's me, Samara, she expelled. My jaw drops. She had fully changed. Not only her outfit, but also her makeup, her shoes, even hair color. A complete change in style. I could have sworn she was totally different to before. Her hair, well, it definitely wasn't black, and there defiantly wasn't any pink with highlights before. Her makeup was so different, I barely recognized her. I figured she was wearing a wig and had gotten fully changed for a reason was. Even though I didn't know what the reason was, other than to keep me waiting for 2 hours. I had to be honest in saying, it's just a shame it took so long, waiting so long has put a damper on the night, I'm ready to go home. She vaguely apologizes as she smoothed my mood in excitement. stating I have something that could cheer you up. I just earned $500 in 15 minutes, enough to do whatever we want to do, and I want to make it up to you. Let me shout the next few rounds of drinks. We'll go to this better place just down the street. Staring at me with obligation, on the way my brain starts to question how could she get $500 in 15 minutes. I had to ask, Samara, what did you do to earn $500 in 15 minutes? She replies it was just a favor for my boss. Don't worry, let's go and have fun tonight. Thinking to myself, the night is almost over, all the energy that was has now left, I ready for rest. I wanted to say that, but with a hit of hope I agree, and the night continues. 12. She dragged me along to another place called Porky's Palace. At this place she brought fancy cocktails, placing them on the table after returning from the bar, but before she sits she told me she was going into the bathroom. No big deal if she doesn't disappear for 2 hours. A few moments pass and she returned shortly after. However, once again her hair had completely changed. I was confused as to where she got another wig from. She only had a small bag, green and black short bob cut. I play along and don't ask questions. After sitting down at a table for about 5 minutes, I'm still pondering as to where did you get the other wig from. After becoming comfortable enough to start to soak in the surrounds, looking around as well, it became pretty obvious. I realized this place was a strip club. Samara, familiar with the staff, the introduction of the next lady come on stage. Samara says looks, she her, the girl on stage, that's my best friend, confirming my realization that yes, for sure, this is definitely a strip club. A topless waitress came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Crystal, can I offer you a drink?" I said, "No, thank you, I'm fine." The waitress, Crystal, said with a bitchy voice, well then stated if I wasn't going to buy a drink then I would have to leave. I agreed yes, nodding my head, well then I think I will leave. I stood up and left. It was seedy in a different way, and I didn't want to stay anyways. Samara was kind enough to offer and walked me to the nearest train station. She said she wanted to make sure I was on my way home safely. It was during this walk I become truly disturbed, you wouldn't believe it. As Samara and I are walking, talking calmly, knowing the night was coming to an end. As we are walking through the streets, people passing without intention, she holds my hand. I think that's nice. We laugh and smile as we make the final turn, when, in the path before us, I see two very tall, flamboyant, muscular drag queens, one with a white skin tone, the other dark, dressed to the hill in full makeup and heels, fishnet stockings, oversized eyelashes. Both wear wigs to exuberate the massive ball of glitter. Samara slows her pace to a stance as the two come catwalking past and we fall in between. I looked up, smile inspired by their empowerment. And then, to my dismay, shock, horror, Samara leaped up into the air, lunging above me, spreading both arms as she's jumping into air. She grips tight of both ladies' wigs, grabbing a fistful, tearing the fake hair from the heads as she falls with gravity. 13. The drag queens squeal in horror, holding their bold capped heads as Samara runs off into the distance, holding wigs in hand, shed-legged it, just taken off, gone. I stood there, frozen in disbelief. I couldn't believe what just happened. I looked at the wigless drag queens, who seemed scared, worried, lost and truly upset, visibly disturbed by the understandably terrible event. Robbed. I never seen anything like that before. Meanwhile, Samara had ran off as fast as she could, clenching wigs in each hand. That was last of her, seen running into the darkness of the street. I still can't believe it. For a moment I stood there confused before I turned to both ladies, apologizing in an effort to comfort the now hairless and tormented drag queens. One asked in a deep, manly yet feminine voice, "Oh my God. Who is she? How do you know her?" Still in shock, I could only comfort them with the facts, and that I had to be honest. I began telling them exactly who she was and all the strange events leading to this moment. These were all the result of a date with a girl I knew them from school. The two were truly kind and sympathized for me having a bad date, and after what happened, understandably, they both wanted to retreat back home to a well-deserved cup of tea. They also offered me to come back for a cup of tea, while they took off all of their makeup and accessories. I thought to myself, the whole night really couldn't get any worse, and was good to hear some kindness. It really did seem nice. After all, I too was shaken by what happened. I thought, a cup of tea would be nice. So I accepted the offer. I've known John and Gary ever since. They always invite me to spectacular events, always offering to help me celebrate all occasions. I've never seen Samara since. I think if I did, I'd feel the pity of her shame and would have to walk the other way. Neil and Sam laugh away the confronting memory of the then misguided attempt at falling in love. Raising a drink to cheers, through the clinking of the two glasses, from nowhere a guy pops up from the end of the table. He gave an instant impress of Dickie Nay, a notable rude puppet from an early 90s TV Saturday night entertainment show. His wide eyes drawing the attention of Sam and Neil. Through his rusty beard, he stumbles the words, "It sounds like you guys are having a great night." "We are, thank you," Neil replied, quick to punch. He inhales with an obvious expression and tails his the intention to lead into an explanation of his general life direction. Sam, seeing a moment of loneliness in this bearded guy's eyes, raised an eyebrow to Neil, indicating a solemn welcome to Beardy MC Beardy Face, Dickie Nay, as Sam invites Beardy Face to the table, with his hipster hippie hobo-styled hair and a dressing outfit. 14. Sam and Neil have always had an understanding. It is easier not to judge at first, to make an effort to get to know someone. You can save a life in doing so, rather than be a dismissive wall of reparative negative no's, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time. A story to be told another time. Neil, being quick to the tongue, was straight to the point in saying, "We welcome you to the table with open arms, but if you show disrespect in any context, we will quickly forget the complexities of your complicated life and remember it only as another story, where we invited others to the table before some of those people started dribbling Debbie Downers, drowning their sorrows in pools of spirits well into the devil's hours. If you go that way, I would simply say have a nice day and we will simply walk away. However, join us in our intentions of remembering the joys of laughter, and you're welcome forever." Neil expelling direct and with a straight face. Beardy placing himself into the empty seat, after a long pause and a stunned look. He anticipated the introduction of himself. "Hi, I'm Derek," waving awkwardly and making a nonverbal agreement to a contract of respect. As he is seated, he goes on to say, "I understand the shit that happens in places like this, and I am not a shady guy. Well, I'm not a weirdo. Well, I hope I'm not anyway," Derek stated with ill confidence. Derek puts his hand out, greeting Neil and Sam. Sam giggles, thinking Dickie Nay was pretty close. "So Derek, what was it you wanted to tell us before?" Sam asked. "Well, no, never mind." Derek, breaking off before he ends. "Please continue," Neil stated. Derek takes a deep breath, before raising his drink to wet his lips, to then going on to explain an unforgettable story about when I was a young fella. "I swear, my Batman undies saved my life. When I was younger, we were lucky enough to have plenty of space, plenty of trees to climb, a creek that was constantly flooding, bees to catch, tracks to ride bike on. We even had a rifle range all the way up the back. But most of my luck was with a really cute girl living next door. Her name was Wendy. She loved to make and fool around. Catch and kiss would turn into a wrestle. She'd always pin me down and right of the middle of the yard. I love it when she'd catch me, pin me down, unable to move, and then she would grind pump heavily all over my body, all whilst licking my face as I pretended to want to get away. I loved it. She was all over me. And then my dad, he begun building the world's best tree house." 15. My father was a tradesman at heart but never had any formal qualifications, just imagination. After driving around for many weeks and collecting lots of recycled material to build a massive treehouse around the gum tree in the backyard, I thought of all the excuses I could make to invite Wendy over and my own private palace. Then one summer's day the treehouse was finally finished. Perfect. With 2 levels and fully tinned roof. We celebrated with a big barbecue and grand opening for all the kids. After the introductions and opening ceremonies, I had my opportunity to invite Wendy over. We go up the treehouse ladder, led up the treehouse to the first level, complete with couches, carpet, fire pole, holes for gadgets and gizmos. Looking up the tree and its trunk, you could see through to the second level. As I go to lead her further up, taking one step onto the ladder, Wendy pulls me back swiftly and straight into her face. She tilts her head and breaths on my neck. In one monition, she pins me up against the tree, with nowhere to go. Her lips hover in front of mine. Her strawberry blonde hair flicks to one side. She looks me in the eyes and smiles, leaving her hand pressed hard against my chest. She lowers her body, looking in one direction down, dropping to her knees. Her other hand rubs my inner leg, slowly leading up to where she gently cups my penis. Leaning in with her face, she looking up. Her chin rubs my throbbing erection as she strokes the shaft with her cheek on the outside of my clothes. She asked simply, "Please," looking up, grabbing the top of my pants line. At the time, I'm frozen, paused, like I'm having a stroke. This is the best thing ever and the scariest thing I've ever done. My hands in the air. As she lowers my pants a little bit more, I'm now just exposed, as gentle as a butterfly. Her lips softly touch smooth over my knob with a big kiss. She looks up, her tongue peeks out from between her lips as she pulls my pants even lower. The tip of her tongue touches and leads the pants line further down, relieving everything. She gets even more excited, expressing it with a giggle and a wiggle, with one hand swiftly grabbing the top half of my penis, the other hand ensuring the pants hit the ground. Coming further in, her lips wrap around my shaft with a kiss. Her moist lips slowly leads her eyes back up the shaft to tickle with the tongue, slowly rising her head. She's making eye connection, her strawberry blonde hair, cute cheeky smile, a picture-perfect moment. But when she leant back in 16, I freaked out. I don't know why or what happened. I just jumped up ladder on the trunk of the tree, scurried up and out the top as quick as I could. It lead to the top of the tree house where you could oversee the entire street, climbing my way up the trunk then onto the roof. I slowly made my way across, feeling the strength of the beam below, the roof itself only made of thin aluminum tin. Without hesitation, I make my way to the edge. Wendy pops her head up through the roof's hole. She started to make wanting to finish, catch, and kiss again, so I'm standing on the edge of the thin tin, flexing my muscles, showing off to the world below. I look around at the view thinking this is great. Telling Wendy look how high I am, so I turn to the street and flex all the muscles in my body, like I'm the Hulk, and as loud as I can I sing out to my followers below, look at me, I'm the king of the castle. The weight was taken out from under my legs, gasping, I lose my breath, my lungs empty of air, realizing I'm falling. The tin had broken away from under my feet. As I fall, my eyes to connect to Wendy's, whom is still partly climbing the tree to get onto the roof, the shock of horror on her face as I disappear through the front part of the tinned roof, eyes as wide as dishes. There was nothing she could do, it was too late, ID already fell, the ground rushing up. The ground was raising up fast, as I braced for the hearty impact of the dusty ground below. Before my body made the horizontal impact, I felt a tight pull around my waist, like a hand had reached out and grabbed me. Bracing for what seems moments, then bam, a punch to the guts, I felt my life leave my body as the force of the impact pushed any air I had left straight out. I looked down to see my undies elastic strap had been caught on one of the tree branch and had taken the majority of the force out of the impact before it snapped, and I then landed flat on my face. When my body hit the ground below, I remember looking down at my left hip because of an intense pressure. I looked down to see chewed dog bone, sharpened by the dog head chewing on one end, the bone stuck into my side. I remember pulling the bone away and seeing where its point had almost broken, thought the skin and pierced my intestines. As I took one deep breath, I passed out. I remember having lucid dreams like visions that instead of failing my Batman undies shot out grappling hooks from the elastic line. Visions of a spring bounced out from my bat-signaled undies unleashing a utility belt with gel bombs, and finally my undies turning into a cape of bat wings, and I safely glide to. I looked up to see the branch that had broken from catching me by my Batman undies before passing out, and still till this day I swear my Batman undies saved my life. Derek ended his story with excitement and belief. 17. The table light up with laughter. Great story, Derek. That story definitely earns you a place at the table, Sam complimented. Derek asked how did Sam and Neil meet? A story that Sam and Neil could tell together. Sam first started to explain. Neil was the new kid at high school, coming into our year 10 classes from some faraway country town. Knowing this and being an outcast myself, we easily made friends. I remember Neil was honest, no one gave her any shit, at all, ever. I realized that just a day of knowing her, when some smart-ass kid tried to be it smart during a conversation she was adding her opinion to. The kid stated if we wanted your opinion we'd ask. She quickly replied, if I wanted your opinion I'd fart. Now stop dribbling shit and take a seat before you embarrass yourself. Everybody in the room roared up in laughter and oh-oh-ohs. Well, I will happily admit I was the smart-ass kid, shocked with admiration for witty remarks. I could only compliment the shutdown and over the day and week queried how she had learned to be so witty and quick to the punch. Neil fished by saying after that Sam followed me around for days. Actually Sam hasn't left me side since. I had no choice but be friends, Neil says with sarcasm. Out of your comfort zone. After Derek's story, Sam asked how he came to have the courage to approach people he doesn't know. How do you step out of that comfort zone, Derek? Derek replied with, I'm just like a dog chasing a frisbee. I don't really know what to do once I have it, so I just do and don't really think much else. When was your most out of comfort zone experience, Sam? Derek asked quite and directly. Sam states, creating a homophobic cross-dresser that you end up having a crush on. 18. Sam went on explain. Well, for always been a comfortable person, but I have a friend Nicholas, whom was real straight one, his family was a large one and didn't have a lot of money, was a unknowingly homophobic and racist, it rubbed off on him a little bit. One year when me and my sister received an annual Wonderland pass for Christmas, my sister and I had used the passes every weekend for months. Nicholas had heard the countless stories of endless adventures filled with adrenaline, fantasy and memorable moments, where we had ridden roller coasters well into the night, seen the summertime special themed island tributes to Halloween, dinosaurs, movies, the one day loves they will never meet again, the opening of new rides. It was a Disneyland in the outlicks of suburbia, a place Nicholas could only imagine with the descriptive stories I had told him. So, one day when my sister was on the phone planning to go and stay over at her friend's place, Nicholas overheard the conversations whilst we were playing Nintendo. His eyes light up with a thought. This thought would become an all-time memorable moment. In its development, his drive to succeed fuels an overwhelming confidence to support his actions and accomplishing the task he was now so determined to achieve. Nicholas leans over to me and quietly proposes we steal Natasha's Wonder Pass and we sneak out Saturday morning to go to Wonderland, his eyes as wide as a fresh puppy. I agreed but had to state the obvious. Nicholas is a boy and my sister Natasha is a girl, so his plan has a massive hole, unless Nicholas plans on dressing like a girl to get into Wonderland. Nicholas agrees to anything. With his willingness to get into Wonderland, a mission begins. Nicholas sets out some paper and pens, drawing a map of the house and all the rooms, grabbing action figures and Barbie dolls to enact the mission. I'll have to go to Uncle Kelly's to borrow my cousin's walkie-talkies. My cousin Mike has army outfits and snow masks. Oh, I could borrow's great-grandma's vocal box to disguise our voices. We need watches and touches. Nicholas rambled on in a frantic state. I just said, hold that thought, I'll be back in a second. About 30 seconds later, I came back into the room holding Natasha's Wonder Pass. Nicholas's went weak at the knees and 19. Asked in squeaky broken voice, how the hell did you do that? I said, simple, I just went up to her door, knocked on it, and then asked if I could borrow her pass for my girlfriend to come with me to Wonderland this weekend. And voila! Presto! Phase 1 completed. Now, Phase 2 of the mission, cover UPS and alibis. Nicholas required a dress and a makeover to successfully be convincing enough to pass through the gate, so he'd stolen his sister's 80s-style formal dress, a slim number, silky ruby red with frilled flans running around the shoulder and matching the bottom edging in that classic retro disco look. Meanwhile, I was creating a plan for transporting our soon-to-be transformed friend. Public transport is not an option. My mum doesn't drive. His dad a drunk and a homophobic. With minimal options, we first asked our neighbor, which was just stupid, but we are desperate to get there, with only one option left. That resulted with us contacting Auntie Robin. Just to describe Auntie Robin by calling her the cool auntie would an understatement of her expressive personality, because she was both awesome and overwhelming, hence her being a last option. Her obsession into youthful endeavors and denials of the biological clock can be embarrassing. Also, it doesn't help she increased the speed of aging with a fictional fountain of denial in every bottle that hit the recycling, but this is her way of life. Also, she thinks her shit really doesn't stink. Quick side story to give an example, so Auntie Robin rapidly cuts off a driver as they both pull into a service station at the same time. The guy states, honking his horn, beeping at us whilst waving his fist out the window. Then the guy jumps out and said to Auntie Robin, hey you there, lady, can I have an apology please, I have kids in the car. Auntie Robins turns and replied, ha, what? Don't know what you're talking about. Mate. I didn't do anything. Auntie trying to dismiss the man. The guy was quick in his remark, yeah, and I bet you think your shit doesn't stick either. Actually, mister, no it doesn't, thank you very much, she said in offended tone. With her reaction where she whipped around, stopping, then lowering her sunglasses, looked the male driver up and down with a glare-infused death stare, snapping her hand to her hip with a snap. 20. Us young kids sitting in the car were listening, and though it was the funniest thing we'd ever heard, when I paused and said out loud, what, really, do you think her shit really doesn't stink? Bursting into uncontrollable laughter, we were all holding our bellies with breathtaking laughter. I swear, I was gonna wet myself in hysterical laughter. The male driver couldn't let it rest, finding her offended attitude humorous. He can't help himself to tops it off with, "What does it smell like, roses?" he asked with humor as he also burst into laughter. His children then slowly pulled down their windows, for us to see. They too are also laughing out loud, to the point of tears of laughter had filled their eyes. The sound of the confrontation echoes around the entire service station, bringing the attendee out to inspect. Just as the calm finally came, bringing silence, the attendee comes running out, and noticing he is a little Indian dwarf, Waddell rushes out in a rushed shuffling and then broke the silence with, "Hey buddy, what's going on there, buddy?" For some reason it seemed the Indian dwarf sent us over the edge with laughter, laughing so hard our bellies hurt. We had tears of laughter, and for a brief moment it was pure bliss. Auntie paid for the fuel and rushed out. I swear she walked out with her bum cheeks clenched. We repeatedly laughed for days with only the mention of it. Weeks passed before I could ask, knowing Auntie being approachable. I asked Auntie, "Can I ask God question? I'm hesitating but willing to ask," said Sam. "Yes," Auntie Robin replied. "So then I asked," stated Sam, "when you said that your poo doesn't stink at the service station arguing with that guy, ha ha ha, is it really true that your poo doesn't stink? Ha 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 hee hee." I cover my question with embarrassing laughter as I couldn't shrug off the odd but also intriguing idea. Sam states, "Yes, Sam, it's true, my poo doesn't stink. In fact, I nearly don't poo at all," Auntie Robin exclaimed proudly. My face squished up in confusion. I tilted my head looking up, trying to imagine what that would be like. Sam stated, repeating the action. 21. Auntie Robin then went on to explain in very intricate detail of her health regime, going on about how she eats so healthy that her body uses all the nutrition that she puts into it, having a veritable diet of nature's best and only fresh fruit and vegetables. They say if you want to eat fish, get a fishing rod. Sometimes I only need to go once a week using of the toilet for number twos. I was baffling with the concept and still confused, so I continued to probe. "So you just don't get the feeling to go, I asked her. Sam explains. "Ahaha, that's right, and when I do, it's green like baby's poo," Auntie Robin said openly. The only thing I could think of saying was, "Thanks for the overshares, Auntie, really, quality information," as I giggled through gratitude. "Now back to story," Sam said excitedly. "So Nicholas and I call Auntie Robin from the home phone. Yes, she answers. We go to explain the plan in full glorious detail, the plan ahead. Excited and hopeful that Auntie would be in for mission after the frantic pleading of our briefing. Auntie screamed with excitement for at least 2 full minutes. Honestly, her scream turned into a squeal, as she agreed to not only to transport us but to also assist in the makeover, makeup and special effects. She explained over the phone. The plan is unfolding and Wonderland is only days away. So now we had the list ticked, boxes crossed and pocket money to share. Days later at Auntie Robin's, Auntie having her own party, jazz music on, wine glass in hand and cigarette picking through her fingers where a straw should be. The makeover took hours. Hours later, powder, eyeliner and a tone of hair sprayed throughout the short black wig fitted to Nick's head, the foundation thick and creamy, lipstick, red to match the very impractical dress for Australia's wonder. Wearing white joggers was the only practical thing despite the lacy frilled socks in an 80s tribute to fashion. However, in this case we boldly challenge the question, is that a girl, to proudly walk tall without doubt, to gain free entry into the land of dreams and wonder? Nicholas counts down to the big reveal of his transformation from behind the curtain. 3, 2, 1, the big reveal. Surprise, do I look the part, he asked, and yes, he looked the part. 22. He was now a convincing she, heavy on green eyeshadow, but still a good-looking chick overall. Auntie proudly and loudly claiming her masterpiece of a creation brought to life. It's a girl. She's alive, my creation, it's alive, I tell you it's alive. Auntie Robin spraying the words out in a drunken fit, whilst balancing a glass of white wine in her left hand, trying to raise it to her lips, flaying the right hand in front of her drunkenly expressive state, that was only seeming to increase, wanting some insurance of transport after the makeover. We throw her glass of wine onto the grass whilst she was smoking. She didn't even notice. She just said, "Oh shit, that one went quick," going on to say, "I'll just have another one before we go. Auntie stating with determination, well another, then another, and one more later, Auntie is face down on the floor, crying about her former childhood lover. The possibilities of leaving for Wonderland's late summer nights opening are now zero. We were hoping for the cover of Darkness 6 p.m. until 12 p.m. Now facing disappointment, I spoke with Nicholas and he was still committed to the course and ready to stay up of the night, not moving an inch throughout the night to avoid messing the makeup. The wig and dress stayed by his bedside, like a cowboy, and his pistol, I swear he kept one eye open all night and watching his stuff in full anticipation for the adventure to come. I awoke a few times during the night and each time my eyelids would open the eyes were drawn to the makeup on Nicholas's face, the lines, tones, questioning what it would feel like. On the skin, on my skin, does he like it? Would I? It looks so pretty, the texture of the lipstick's bubbly glitter gloss flavor smacking down and slowly gliding moisture to lubricant the bottom and lower ruby red lips, a tense feeling tightens just below. What would it be like to kiss them, to feel, thee is my best friend but I can't help to look, my look turning into a stare peering through the darkness to the room, the light, my eyes follow the angle where I saw a similar impression to comparing as I fall back into this dream-like state. I remember I was trying to link the sight through my active imagination as a dream state drew me away as if demanded my attention. As I drifted off to sleep I imagined a scene from a movie with Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters. I find her in her apartment where she's up in the bed, waiting for the great god Zoerul to return, dominating all planet Earth. Sigourney's only responsibilities, worries, cares, demands, where to find her gatekeeper's key. 23. My thoughts drift into dreams and dreams are easily forgotten, but the fantasy is planted deep in my subconscious and only fragments of a distant dream remained. We wake up in a mad rush to get there early but not first in line. It's ruckin' truckin' happening. Finally, Nicholas, we're going, I expelled out loud in excitement. Nicholas replied with it's Nikki, now, flicking back the black wig hair with his hand on hips. If only I had photos. Today, 80s photo were expensive and biodegradable. During the drive Nicholas sat in the back with me, as like many times before, but the difference was Nicholas is a girl. I wasn't meaning to stare, but I couldn't help myself. I didn't even realize I was, but through the gleaming reflection of the sun flooding the car in light, I remember looking at Nikki and the rays of light hit her face, the reflecting light of each individual glittering particle lighting up her face, flooding my eyes with a tantalizing light show. Hypnotic, I get lost in thought. My eyes drew down escaping the light, only for my sight to be drawn back to a highlighted the ruddy red silk formal wear dress, looking smooth to the touch, the tightness emphasizing the curves and bust of its wearer. My eyes quickly glancing up without thought, I trace an outline around Nikki in my imagination. That image became an animation and took on a story of its own. Without control, I was fantasizing. I realize I'm crushing on Nicholas Nikki, which is totally forbidden. Because it's my best friend, so I think maybe it's how he's dressed, but I need to check, so trying in the least most observer's way to take closer look, this time slightly longer, trying not to any creepier. Internally I'm thinking, shit, how can these get any creeper? This is my friend. Still I couldn't shrug it off, the lining hugging the hips, the artificial bust that shrunk down the shoulders and gave a femininely posture. The overwhelming urge to reach out and rub the material hit me like a train. Feeling hot, with sweaty palms, my heart racing, thinking about the glossy lips, I'm beginning to salivate at the thought of them merging into mine as our lips collide, smack bag closed, thinking about the slowing engaging in the soft texture, fingers running down along the silky smooth dress, as the material reaches around cupping the bum perfectly. I'm sweating, legs shaking, red-faced, I'm a mess, then my breathing got heavy. 24. When Nikki started to talk and ask questions, I was frozen with a frog in my throat, a cat got tongue. I realized that there was an overwhelming attraction happening, thinking it was just the hormones of puberty. I began shaking it off in self-doubt. Meanwhile Nicholas has become an oblivious awareness to the inner struggle that I was spontaneously having for Nikki. Back at the table, Sam states, this is where I felt the furthest I'd ever from my comfort zone. So I'll tell you how it ends, Sam stated. Nicholas just kept on the mission, and his intention to complete it was only minutes away. Approaching the gate's ticket collector guy, pauses, holds his chin whilst looking at the computer information, turns and took one look at Nicholas, smile, shakes his head in a silent giggles and said, that's a lot of effort for Wonderland, isn't it? Natasha hinting sarcasm in his speech. Yes, Nikki replies, is a soft fragile voice. Paused, heart pounding, knees shaking, dry throat. The guy then leans over towards the gate, ever so discreetly opens it. "Welcome to Wonderland," he stated as we passed through. I made eye contact with the attendant as we did. He winks at me and said it better be worth the effort, then smiling with disbelief and captivity, as it was an obviously fact other to us, that Nicholas was a male trying to look female just to get into Wonderland. Then he simply went on with his job. We run fast once we passed, slapping our hands in a high five. We agree it's been a fully awesome day already. Nicholas turns and says, "Okay, now I can take all this crap off." Finding the nearest bathrooms, once there, Nicholas paused for a moment, then turns and asked so innocently with worry and confusion, "Which one do I go in?" I swear time passed in slow motion for 3 minutes before the decision was to just run fast into the boys, like, "Right now, go, go, go," I said with haste. We absolutely thrashed every ride, roller coaster, wheel spinner, tipper, river of rampage ride there, including the pirate's ship. LOL, memories and laughter for life. So missed the place, it became a second home to us all. Sam says in a sigh, exhaling. 5/10/21. The three raise their glasses in a cheers, whilst laughing and tapping the table to imitate. 25. Clapping. After a few more drinks and stories of life's lessons, the newly formed posy of three decided to change location, seeking a more entertaining environment. Through the badly lit alleyways and artificial landscapes of the inner city, the three's uncoordinated footsteps lead the path forward as fate steers their euphoric state to an unpredicted location, unknowingly set on a track for the dramatic events that the night is about to unfold. Derek states, "Guys, I'm ducking into the bushes to free the snake, won't be a second." Sam and Neil agree it's a good time to smoke a joint that Sam had stashed in a jacket pocket. Derek emerges from the bushes presenting a bum bag he had found. "Hey guys, look at this shit." Derek saying aloud as he straps the bum bag around his waist and continues to say, "I had one of these back in the 90s. I remember rollerblading around with my bum bag and sweatsuit jacket thinking I was so awesome." Derek stumbles back into the group, then having a toke on the joint. "Wow, that's good shit," Derek says while exhaling and coughing at the same time. Sam says, "Recreation only, otherwise you really do turn into a dope." Zombie Neil says out loud. The three then break into song, singing the Craneberries song Zombie. "What's in your head zombie, zombie, what's in your head zombie, oh, singing and laughing as they continued walking through the park. Finishing what was left of the joint, the dreaded dry mouth sets in. The urge to quench a thirst drives the three to seek a location for hydration. With the lights inside of the distant tavern, the pace speeds up with anticipation. Just before leaving the shadow of the park, Derek realizes he is still wearing the bum bag. Curious of its contents, Derek opens it up to find a strap of cash in $100 bills, about 10,000 on site, a significant amount of white powder, presumed to be cocaine, one hotel card with room number 448. On the card he sees the Oaks Hotel. He thinks, "That's just uptown." Derek stops dead, turns to the others and swiftly asked, "Hey guys, can we just quickly swing past my hotel room? I just need drop by in real quick." Before the others could react, Derek was hailing a taxi and shuffling inside. In a hurry, the Neil and Sam went alone, not thinking much of the situation, closing the taxi back doors behind themselves. Within a few minutes, Sam and Neil followed Derek into the Oaks Hotel, past reception, up the elevator, then shortly down the hall, arriving to room 448. 26. Sam and Neil are yet to understand that the room card was the one found in the bum bag that had been found earlier. Derek was just about to find out whose room it actually was. Derek holds the room card key, handing the bum bag to Neil, asking them both to just wait outside for a moment. The card entry lock turns green and Derek enters, leaving the others standing in the hall holding the bum bag, unwise to its contents. Talking in a drunken state, time passes without being acknowledged, until a very large and very tall, thin, masculine African man walks by. The man glances down at Sam and Neil, blank of any gesture. His lack of expression sends chills, and an overwhelming feeling of dread runs down Sam's spine. Sam grabs Neil's arm, as if to take notice. As Neil looks at Sam, Sam gestures to look towards the door in disbelief. Neil watched the tall, dark, masculine man stop and then turning to the Same door, the same room Derek had just entered only moments ago. Without hesitation, Sam leads Neil to the elevator. In a whisper, Sam warns, "We need to split, like right now. I'm telling you, something is about to go down." The elevator doors open, the two step in, and as the elevator doors begins to slowly close, they hear a muffled noise, followed by a massive thud, the loud bang coming from the adjacent wall. Ah! Neil expelled in fright. Both Sam and Neil jump back with shock, wanting to quickly escape the commencing commotion. Sam pushes the close doors button, in a panic pushing it a few times. Like in slow motion, the doors slowly press closed, what seemed like forever, the elevator making its ways down, finally coming to the ground, the two staying silent the entire ride down. They say nothing, walking back past the reception desk, increasing pace and linking arms with the front doors in sight. Relief they made it. Outside. Meanwhile, inside the room, Derek had found stacks of cash now jammed full into his pockets, blocks of solid crack coke, and tucked in what he could into his belt line. With lines ready to go on the table, Derek took it himself to inhale a hefty amount, while gorging in the found riches. Disbelieving his luck, suddenly the door beeps open, a large shadow fills the entry doorway. Derek in a panic yells out, "Fire! Fire!" Both Sam and Neil had already fled before even a word was said. In the room, the tall African man enters the space with a surprise. He sees a little white fucker robbing him blind. Derek stalked and chalked up with everything he could get his hands on. "Fuck me," Derek states out loud. The tall African man lunges toward Derek in response. He picks Derek up and violently throws him across the room. The very tall, thin yet masculine African man pulls a large knife out from the back of his belt. 27. Derek rolling over to all fours, he scans the room for an exit, scrabbling for an escape over and through the broken furniture. Stumbling to gain his feet, Derek makes his way to the balcony, with the very tall African man in heavy pursuit, shattering through the glass door with almighty boom. Derek stumbles, the shattering glass falls like diamonds. Derek turning as he hits the balconies, rallying to see the large African man lunging at him. Derek's back hits the rail, his weight pushing his top half over the edge, causing him to fall over the ledge, and as he does, his right foot flicking up, hitting the hand of the African, causing the knife to thrust upward, jamming the knife directly into the African man's throat, the impact causing an instant lose of a large amount of blood. As Derek fell 20 or so odd floors, he could only on watch as the African slumped over railing, with his blood slowly coloring the glass of the balcony. Red like water flowed over the balcony's edge. Derek's free fall didn't lead to death as anyone would have predicted. However, Derek landed in the pool below where two lovers scream in shock. Derek lay at the water's bottom for seconds before raising for breath and making an escape. Finally making the exit, Sam and Neil sigh in relief, slowing their pace as they make their way onto the footpath and away from the building. Within moments, Derek rushed from the water, soaking wet and covered in blood and glass. He states out loud, yelling, "Well, that was fucking crazy," pumping his fists, celebrating miraculous survival of such a large fall. Quickly looking back up with a gaze, realizing that only trouble could follow, Derek then strips his jacket off and throws it at the wall. The wet jacket hitting the wall with a sludge as he disregarded the heavy soaking wet item. Derek then grabbing what was near to dry off somewhat. The shuttered strut made him walk like a drunken pirate, dizzy head, shaky legs, looking dazed and confused. Derek is concussed, however, he continued looking for an exit, soaking wet, drenched. The only material near or available is a tablecloth. Grabbing it quickly, with nothing on the table to obstruct the table, it comes off quickly. With a whip, Derek swiftly wiping around himself. After using it to get dry, Derek did not dispose of the tablecloth after its use, rather he wrapped it around his neck, tied it up and used it like a cape. Before he leaves, he take the time strike a pose to the security cameras, then disappearing, jumping through the garden, not realizing the garden was a wall of fence to prevent people falling off the edge. So 28. In a daze, Derek falls, flopping over the wall, resembling a walrus, as he flopped and fell, hitting the ground with full force, his body fat absorbing the punch of the ground below as he connected. No body part broke, nor did any body part bend. There was not visible folds, just flat, smack, bang, a thud rumbled the earth below. Neil and Sam struck in shock to not only see Derek's body not break or bend, as his blob of blubber seemed flexible as gravity takes maximum effect, the pair now scared facing a series of spontaneous sequences. Sam squinting to see in the darkness as Derek reclaims his feet as is looking up and looking around. Neil makes eye contact through limited lighting. They brace for Derek to recognize them, but was surprised Derek didn't. Looking dazed and confused, Neil grows concern, asking, "Hey Derek, are you okay?" Neil asked loudly to get his attention, however he did not respond. In a quiet voice Neil asked Sam. "Hey Sam, can you see his wet? Do you think he fell?" "Oh no, what that the noise we heard just before." Before Sam could answer, Derek makes his way over to them. "Oh hi there Sam and Neil. What happened? Did you fall?" Neil questions. Sam, looking at Derek seeing cuts and blood all over his face and hands, quickly advises Derek visit the emergency department at Newtown Hospital. "Like now mate, immediately, you're bleeding pretty bad man, you need medical attention." "Hold on, hold it, I'll call now Derek." "Mate please just wait." Ignoring Sam's advice, Derek stumbles towards the road, stumbling towards the nearest life raft. His flopping jellyfish hand reach up hails a passing taxi cab, and just like a bearded drunken pirate he was last seen holding his guts in the early hours. As he stumbles into the life raft, subconsciously drifting back towards his sailing ship, he disappeared into the distance and was never be seen again, until Sam and Neil pause again in a moment disbelief once again. Sam asked Neil, "Where do you think he would be going?" Neil replied, "Was something bad happened, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that was even his room, and I really doubt the man on the balcony had red paint. I think something more sinister is going on." Sam agrees by saying, "I believe that's right. I think he found the card for the hotel in the bum bag." "The bum bag? Oh shit, we still have the bum bag," realizing they are still in possession of it. 29 minutes after alerts began, Sam and Neil's phone buzz with local area alerts, informing people within the direct vicinity of that area. The alert provides news of an immediate update. The alert reads, "We the people are upholders of law, justice, truth, a peace. However, one of our fellow residents has disrupted that peace and are now wanted for that disruption, brought forward for questioning as judgment is at bay. You the people are our eyes and ears. You are to be on the lookout for a man that matching Derek's description, a bearded man, goofy and fat." The alert pointing out that looks like Sticky Me for an early 90s TV show as seen on this CCTV footage. A still photo flashed up on screen. There's Derek striking a superimpose in a tablecloth, shirtless and soaking. "Please report to your local police isolation desk if you have any information regarding the man related to this disturbance of our peace. All and any witnesses in the area at the time are a witness to crime. The obstruction of justice faces equal penalties." The alert warned to on the lookout for a man matching Derek's description. "Holy shit, what should we do?" Neil asked Sam. After the alert and the events that just happened and realizing they were still in possession of the bum bag, they contemplate the content. Now knowing the criminality of the situation, they discuss the contents of the bum bag. Their curiosity compels them to take a look inside. The two find a small concrete bench to the side of the pathway of the street. The pair sat in dim lighting as they shadow themselves over the bum bag in anticipation to what is to be revealed. The black and very normal looking bum bag was slowly unzipped and opened up. To reveal the content was a large amount cash, in notes, $50 and $100 bills, jammed up in a roll of the cash. A large zipper pocket contained a lock bag half filled with a white rocky powder. That pair presumed it to be cocaine. The last zipper pocket had at least 10 hotel cards in it. Not looking too closely, but they all seemed to be for different hotels. In a panic, the two quickly hide it away. In disbelief, they look around. "Did anyone see?" Sam asked aloud. "SHHHHHHHH. Neil replies. The pair agree to walk and talk on their way to the train station, knowing it was a criminal event, talking about how they could be involved. Interviews, statements and interrogations. XM exclaimed with a shirk in a heightened state. So in a heightened and panicked discussion, they decide, because they have the bum bag on them, it's going to be direct involvement and witness stands. Panic and fear creeps in with the what-ifs. Neil contemplates the situation by saying, 30. If they hand it in, not only are we implicating ourselves walking into the police station with a bum bag filled with drugs, money and hotel cards, they fear they will be ridiculed, harassed, bashed, jailed. Sam replies with a humorous tone, the money disposed of, any possible chance of a free prepaid holiday with the hotel cards replaced with 4 walls and a metal toilet, bars for a door, and Big Martha stares from the top bunk, licking her lips, staring at Tennille like she's a meal, the cocaine wasted in the firmest of the police station's furnace. Sam following on with, well, I would just claim that I followed you and you're the real mastermind. The two exchanged in conversation whilst in a panic of the future's perspective. Silence falls for a moment, no talking, just breathing, the ambient noise of the few cars driving past. A honking horn breaks momentary silence as the pair are walking through the city streets to get to the train station. The illuminating city lights give comfort to them both, as they are one step closer to the long trip back to the faraway form. The comforts of home. The comforts of home, just train trip away. Walking up Kent Street, the two continue to ramble and bumble, discombobulated as they are still confused, repeating and revising the night. The two relive what had happened in the last few hours, talking about the night and how it's turned into a nightmare. The two arrive at Town Square, before the entrance that leads down the stairs to the train station below. The two stop, checking their phones for train's timetable, when Sam looks up and slaps Neil light on the arm, gaining her attention. Sam, excitedly pointing out to the bus station nearby. Sam says, "Far out, Neil, check this out." Neil looks through the passing crowd of city-goers, to see the back of what seemed to be a beautiful blonde. This cute female in a black cocktail dress is sitting, straddled on the lap of an obvious homeless guy living at the bus stop. You can see his sleeping bag and begging cup. Both Sam and stare, watching in disbelief, as she thrust back and then forth. She rides him like a coin-operated pony. She slaps both of her sweaty palms and spread fingers flat against the glass, her hands. "Cuz thud," that brought no attention from the bystanders on the other side. Both Sam and Neil giggle. Sam whispered the scene from Titanic where Jack and Rose fog up the glass. Wink wink. Stained in disbelief, Neil is speechless, so Sam fills the air with another humorous statement. "Jazz, would you look at that? Even a homeless guy can get laid in the city. Come on, we've got a train to catch." Pulling Neil's attention away to see her face whiter than normal. "Just something else to talk about when we reflect on this night out in Biodivrse City." Neil shaking off the strangeness but couldn't help to have that girl in her thoughts. The what, the how, was it planned or spontaneous? Is she so drunk she doesn't care? Will it be a regretted decision, or will she be happy that she just gave that guy the best experience of his homeless life? 31. As they went down the stairs and made our way to the ticket booth, a man walks up behind Sam and said, "Give me your change." Saying nothing, he then asked, "Can I have your change?" Again Sam says nothing and Neil looks around for security. The homeless guys then said, "Give me $2, otherwise, I'm gonna pull your veins out through your skin." Both Sam and Neil look at him in disgust, making direct eye contact. He sees the pair are not intimidated. He then slivers backwards into the shadows, like in reverse, his movements jagged, ridged, maintaining eye contact the entire time. His disappearance into the shadows was like a horror house creeper from a nightmare-themed gaming night. Sam and Neil then quickly made their way through the station and onto the train, and finally making our way home. Until the bum bag was opened, finally alone on the train ride home. Only two fill the carriage. In the silence, between the deep breaths, an idea that would influence the night persist, grow resistant and reluctant to end. Resilience, a night that begun like all other nights but held with turns and twists, now refuses to end. It will not be subdued by sleep, suppressed by the emergence of sunlight. The night is here and now, like a narrator, the night watching on. A whisper hardly heard, the disembodied voice makes its ways to Sam's inner ear. Temptation, one single word. Before Sam could say anything, Neil states, "I'm full of temptation." Sam not surprised. This was a previous thought inspired by a whisper. Sam states, "I agree. If it our last night of freedom, we need to make it last. We need to burn it bright, hit it hard between now and sunrise." The two know what's in the bum bag. They question to open it. Temptation. Curiosity. The bum bag opens once again. They try to hide the content between them just in case of a walkthrough on the train. Pulling out the stack of cash, "There is enough to go on a shopping spree for you, your family and half the street." They share out the cash, $5,000 each. They pull out a big bag of powder, with close suspicions of it being the amphetamine coke. They take a dab. "Yep, that's coke." Sam confirms the familiar taste. Before long, a small amount on the tips on their fingertips. Just a small amount. They test it by rubbing it into their gums. Both immediately feel a rush. The adrenaline hits them between the ears. Laughter bellows from them both, laughing at nothing but each other. Once again they dabble in just a little more, trying different ways as they've seen in movies and TV. They 32. Snort it with a big sniff, woofer gone, and just like they had seen in the movies, they rub their gums with the residue. In only seconds both their mouths begin to tingle, a numbing sensation surrounds the cheeks, then the tongue, the lips follow, turning slightly blue, their eyes winded, heart rate increases, a cold sweat, the flow of conversations perks up. The stories begin to follow whilst on the remaining train trip home. The highs and laughter echo throughout the carriage, friends natural in conversation, just as friends would be. Unspoken trust, open honesty, influenced by amphetamines and untold is about to unfold. Sam never telling anyone about what will be disclosed. Neil patient, understands and allows Sam to take it where it needs to go. Trusted between two best friends, affected with amphetamines, a peak taking their course. One person telling their story may seem like a one-sided story, but our friend Neil interjects where she needs with question and wonder. Throughout the story she continued to encourage as the story was told. So, as naturally as Sam would tell any story, however this time telling a story as high as a kite, influenced by amphetamines, animated, excited, the story began. "Did I ever tell you I was in the circus, Neil?" Sam asked, knowing she hasn't heard the story before, but Sam subconsciously wanted permission to release the details and indicators of trust before going ahead and telling this personal story. Neil replies, "No, I haven't, go on." "Well, before my parents and I moved into suburbia, my parents were in the circus. They were full carnies, constant travelers, like the full gypsy type. They performed together as aerial acrobats, clowns, were also technicians, but were best known for their fire-twirling acts, fueling fountains of fire, leaving the lips in a vortex of intense jet of fire, dancing in romance with the naked flames. Before long I was born. My mother a dancing pixie in many ways, as she's moving she flies, as she dances she defies gravity with fire. My father safe to talk to, an emotional person, who liked people. He was well known in our community as a storyteller, often in telling a story or tale a tear would form in his eye, but his calmness was not to be mistaken for weakness. My dad was buff, as strong as, he protected us like a warrior. Being born into the circus was a fun and energetic childhood, the freedom to practice any trick, routine, trampoline act, safety wires with wide open spaces to bounce, fly and swing around. But these things aren't much fun when it's you alone. You see, there wasn't many other children in the circus. It was a life choice, but I didn't really know that until I was older. I was spoiled for choice when it came to anything outrageous or flamboyant, but still I would get lonely having no friends, everyone always practicing or setting lighting, either packing up or packing down, everyone busy all of the time, but I gathered it's just life, and it's what I have. Life, realizing at age 7 I would grow up, grow older, have a family of my own. In that moment, I was filled with a shining glee at the simple thought that I will be a parent. 33. One day, images of a woman with long, tight, curly brown hair flooded my brain. I seen 4 children flash up in my mind, like I'm remembering a photo from long ago, but it's not a photo because I can feel the light flooding my face as I'm squinting my eyes. Then, like a daydream, I fell into a trance where the photos took the form of a silent film. The woman stands next to the children. Through the glistening sun, I can see she waves me over, requesting me, "Quick, come here, quick over." Here I see her lips slowly mouthing the words, whilst making the waving gesture. I follow her request, moving over towards all 5 now lined up, side by side they stand. I then take my place next to them all. It's when I notice we are posing for a camera. Smile. Flash, the flash is bright, my eyesight goes white. I close my eyes and raise my hands to rub them both in a reaction to the brightness of the light. It's then I break from the daydreaming trance. I open my eyes and I'm back in the room watching my parents practice and their fire dancing routine. Somehow, 4 hours had passed. I didn't remember sitting down or even walking in. So you see, children need be socially interactive with other children, and I was a total loner, so I created and I invented, because I hadn't lived this life before. I thought it was kind of very normal. However, being alone with rooms to explore, I found cupboards full of soft silky, satin materials, a room up for creating for the glamorous fashions, drawers with ribbons for hems, designs waiting to be seamed. There were undergarments of various styles, shapes and sizes. Free to explore all the materials I wanted to make, wanted to suit, literally dressing my different individual acts, indulging in developing their personalities. The imagination feed like a focused beast. I furiously created outfit after outfit, drawing and designing, creating, becoming an unbroken focus, a driven force to complete each individual outfit. Fashion, they called it. That was the first time I'd heard the word, but really I'd use any excuse for use of the flamboyant makeup and matching outfits, taking all the opportunities one can for the further the development of what is me, really. Honestly, I just loved the feeling of the materials, the way they made me feel, in my hand and on my body, each outfit a different personality. Freedom, love, support in developing every signal outfit, every act and personality, nothing held back, not once. There was not shame, no shoutouts of faggot or weirdo, nothing undignified, not until when I was later released to the real world. Wow, did I felt that hate. At first I didn't understand why. Why stare and glare? Why is everybody afraid of me? Why do I get these hater? 34. After seeing all the applause for talent, efforts triumphant, standing ovations for new unseen inventions of the mind and body, people cheered at different. However, out here I thought people were horrible, until I met you, my bestie Neil. You helped me see home can be a person and doesn't need to be a place. You love me unconditionally. You gave me freedom to be who I am. In a blurring, blubbering blunder, but loud and clear, although it's only just the two on the train. Sam looks around checking their no on listeners. This, Sam, pointing to self, is a flamboyant, a person, not defined by a title, not described by gender or seen as trans, pot or pans. I am, who I am, simply just Sam. Neil always had seen Sam just as that Sam, open with accepting invitation. Unjudging and unsurprised with direct honesty, Neil said, "It's funny how these things are bigger in your head. People either already know or they just don't care." Brilliantly said, Sam agrees with a giggle and glimmer of glee. To Neil then explained, "Well, my childhood wasn't as nearly as exciting. It was fairly simple really. My single mother, whom was a piano teacher, she had a good-looking boyfriend named Dylan. He hung around for a while, until my mum gave him the fling. When things got even close to serious, she was mostly at home, so naturally I was homeschooled. We lived in an apartment way up top, nothing fancy, no pets, no dogs or doctors. My mother was very rightful in her women's rights campaigns. I am thankful for her being like that. She helped me be assertive with my passions and in life. Go for what you want, you know." The train pulls UPS to Sam's local station. Over a taxi back to Sam's home. The house is a 4-bedroom shared house. Sam, one of 4 that occupied the old antique beachside cottage. Safely. Warm shower and a warm bed. However, is this where the night truly ends? A story by Ryan Dillon Brassington. July 10, 2021. 35.